Hi everyone! Tonight's stream will be featuring my Outlander Weave Along photos. Just waiting to a few more minutes for people to hop in, and then we'll get started. Can somebody let me know if they can hear me okay? Hi all crafty! Be right back. Alrighty, let's get started. So I've been working on my very first wool project on my baby Macomber. It's the Outlander Weave Along by Hook and Shuttle. And let's move over to capture one. And I've got text set up so that way the chat will display on screen. Let me know if that's okay. Hi Snoring Cat! Hi Storybook Fibers! Alrighty, so I need to switch over to capture one. Alright, so I'd start off with showing some pictures I've already edited. So this was my my warp chains, and this is the yarn I was working with. Just gonna let you see the detail in here. So this project involved 3 different colors. The wool is a loosely spun and plied woolen yarn, so it's a bit sticky to work with. Aha, and Jay is here from Hook and Shuttle. Hey Jay. So if anybody has any questions about the project itself, Hook and Shuttle can answer those because he's the one who designed the project. Oh, Jerry! Hi, Jerry! Awesome. Okay, so here's some close-ups of the quills and my boat shuttles. But let's get to the good stuff. So like I said, these I've already edited, and I've got some new ones that I haven't gone through yet. Just gotta find them here. Did I? Of course. Here we go. So when I first start off with editing photos, you can see that some of these photos have like a little mark down here. And these tell me that I've actually already edited them. So these ones have not been touched whatsoever. So I'm going to go ahead and select them all. And for raw editing, I can actually batch edit these photos. And I'm going to go ahead and apply a style that changes both the color temperature and also the ICC profile. So I'm going to use my custom style here. And it changes it to the my camera's particular style, Pro Standard, and it also changes my Kelvin temperature to 5600 Kelvin. Hi Veggie Zombie! Alright, so some of you are probably wondering what's going on with this blue. That's my exposure warning, and the blue is telling me that anything that is blue is pure black, and anything that is red is overexposed. So those are things that I can deal with while I'm editing my raw photos. I haven't gone through any of these, so we're going to decide which ones I'm going to actually edit, which ones I'm going to toss. That's the first thing I go through. I'm going to go ahead and turn this exposure warning off because it's a little distracting. So we're going to look through these 4. And I'll see which ones I like. This one I cut too close. Definitely don't like that one, so we're going to remove that one. This is distracting, so I'm going to take that one off as well. And the ones that I don't like, I go ahead and just mark as a 1, and I'll go ahead and delete them later. Between these 2, I like this one. This right here I'm finding distracting. Okay, so we're left with this one. We're going to check out the exposure warning. I've got a little bit of black in the background, but actually I really like this black, so I'm actually going to emphasize that a bit more. So we're going to reduce the light in the black. And I've got a little bit of highlight here and here. So I'm just going to take the highlight down just a little bit to keep the detail in this wood here. So this is 100%. You'll see that I've got a shallow depth of field, but it's not too shallow. My main focus is going to be this plane right here. And as you see, as it goes farther back, everything's kind of falling out of focus. I was experimenting around with trying to get some decent photos underneath the top cloth, and I wasn't really successful with that, so we're just going to kind of look at them, and yeah, they're not ideal. Oh, this is pretty cool though. I've got a really sharp focus on this edge right here. You can see all the detail on that selvage, but then everything behind it's falling out of focus. Oh, snoring cat. So where did I find the tape measure? So I ordered it. I can't remember where. I need to look it up. But it's just a it's technically just a ribbon. It's very inaccurate. So I actually have to take a measuring tape and a Sharpie to it to mark where the actual yards are. It only goes from 0 to 12 inches and just repeats. It's about, I think, like ½ an inch off per every foot. But it looks nice, and I can easily just mark it up to whatever I need. So I do like this one, so we're gonna fix this up. Yeah, it's not an actual tape measure. I really wish it was. I know that there's some old school ones. Okay. Hook and shuttle. So where do we get these soft fabric measuring tapes that are accurate? Because I haven't found them yet. Snoring cat, that would be amazing to have someone print accurate measurements. You know, I swear I got it from Amazon, but I wasn't finding it in my order list. But a link would be fantastic. Oh, they're rubber coated. Interesting. But if they're rubber coated and I go to like put a pin through it, it's gonna like actually keep holes in it, right? So over time it's gonna look not as great in photos, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's the downside. Alright, so we're gonna reduce the highlight just a touch. That one's okay. And so the ones that are, hold on here. There we go. Sorry, I have to go back here. Didn't actually save my settings here. So that one and that one. So yeah, binder clips are handy too. But the pins are definitely more photogenic, and Jay, you know me, I always go for photogenic. I gotta make stuff look pretty. Yeah, I just don't get good focus on these. So I had the light in the background and it just wasn't cutting it. And then I switched sides. I think I like these ones better. So let's see. I wish I had focused a little bit closer. Yeah, more of a silver metal person. Here we go. This is nice. So I'm gonna check the exposure out. I've got a little bit of black in here. Maybe we can rescue that a little bit, so it's not too dark. Let's see if I add too much light to this black, you're gonna start seeing the background. So can't do that. Ooh, this one or yeah. So I don't like this one because I had the tape measures in the background. I actually had to move those. This one or this one. Now you'll see in this one I've got the backdrop didn't actually hit this corner, but because I'm not actually, it's not interfering with the weaving itself, I can actually just fix this in Photoshop. So I'm not too worried about that kind of a corner in the photo. So while I'm raw editing, I'm not doing any like little fixes or anything. It's mostly just dealing with the exposure, making sure that the details there and the highlights and the dark areas. So there's not too much to do here, usually. But I will have more when I get to the macro shots, and I'll explain why when we get there. Okay, so we got these two here. This is an interesting point. So these shots are very similar. However, you'll notice that I have one of the beams right here on the side heavily distracting. So I would not pick this photo. Same goes for, oops. So this one and this one or a no. Aw, Starbuck Fibers is having some internet problems. No worries. If you missed a little bit, you can always rewatch it. I don't like the tape measures in the background. Ah, here we go. I really like this one a lot. Adding a little bit more black. That looks really nice. Oh, good call, Veggie. So this one I kind of see some faint lines, so I'm going to just bump up the black a little bit to see if I can get those lines to go away so I don't have to deal with them as much in Photoshop. I can show this is before and after. So it got a little too dark, so we'll maybe lessen the shadow a little. Guess I'll have to fix the stripes in Photoshop a little bit. Okay, so we're going to keep that one. And the next bunch is what everybody's here for. The macro shots are coming up. Yes, I know you're really anxious to see the macro shots. I did some, let me see here. Which one of these did I like the best? I didn't like those. I may have looked at them a little bit. Actually, kind of like the first one the best. I had to. I mean, it's a good... Come on. It's just a fun thing, you know? Oh, I also wanted to do some shots like this. I thought this was going to be neat. Let me see. Yeah. This is pretty cool. So I wanted to get the shed to see, you know, how far I got. And it's pretty narrow. But it's nice and open. So Hogan Shed, it'll be interesting to see what I have to fix on the other side. I've been pretty careful, but I noticed a couple times I'll miss something on the bottom of the shed. I'll actually pick something up. So I can't really darken this to get rid of this without losing in here. Yeah, well I can't fix that. You may need to raise your beater a little bit. Um, yeah, how about when I finish this one, I will take some pictures and shoot it over your way, Hook and Shuttle, and we can see how to fix that, because I have no idea. It'd be really great to fix that. Because definitely with this, it could get a little tricky. But I've been managing fairly decently. Actually, so these I haven't done my... actually, we're just going to go through all of them. I haven't done my custom style on, so Einstein 5600K. There we go. Alright, I was working on this one. So I'll have to Photoshop this line out, but that's not a big deal. But I do like that shot. This is fun too. I'll just reduce the highlight a little bit. Alright, so now I was getting into actually checking out the structure here. This was taken with my normal walking lens, my 24-105. So this is pretty normal photograph for actually shooting this project. So it's not macro quality, but I mean, you look at it up close, and the detail's definitely there. It's pretty amazing to see, just the little bits of color. And so I wanted to take it further to see, hey, what would it look like if I took the macro to it? So we're gonna up the exposure just a little bit. So the first thing I noticed when I took with the macros, of course you need more light. So some of these early photos were a little dark. However, I can up the exposure on them to fix them. So they are totally fixable thanks to RAW. So this was shot just with the straight up macro, I believe. So this fiber is wool, but man, when you look it up close, that's 50%, 67, 100%. It looks like plastic. It's just the weirdest thing. This is what your yard looks up close. It's, yeah, it is amazing. It's just so bizarre to see wool up close. Ooh, so Snoring Cat Fibers asks, do you know what breed it is? So the yarn is Jaeger spun. Jay, do you know what kind of wool that is? 'Cause I don't know. Yeah, it's just, I think it's just listed as Heathered Wool Blend. So I don't know what kind it is, but I did shoot some Charolais, and it was also very similar. So I'm looking forward to shooting different kinds of wool blends to see if there's any differences, to see how they are different. But this one's just pure wool, whereas the Charolais blend I had was actually wool, bamboo, and silk. Yeah, it's most likely a blend of a number of breeds. And it's interesting, so like when you look at it, you can barely see the twist, because the twist, this is 20 pixels per inch, so the twist is actually over a wider spread than the actual pick per inch is, so you really don't see the twist very much. But the amount of colors that are in each yarn, like the brown is made up of browns and blacks and reds and yellow. The blue is a blue, a yellow, a white, and a red. And then in the cream colored yarn, you've got some oranges and yellows and black and the cream color. It's really neat. Yeah. This area is really neat. Just all that color. Let's see. So I do like that one. So when you're shooting macro, of course you need more light. And in order to get the more light, you have a few different options. You can lower your shutter speed. And I can't lower my shutter speed or else I'm going to have handshake. It will result in the sharpness won't be as sharp. Although I do have image stabilization in the camera body itself and on the lens, but I'm shooting at 1/200th of a second, and that's really pushing it for the length. So Hook and Shuttle says that heathered yarns are blended colors while combed and carded. So I could sacrifice the shutter speed. I could also sacrifice my aperture, and I could have gone to a shallower aperture, which would result in a more shallow depth of field, but I didn't want to sacrifice that either. So instead, I had to sacrifice my ISO. And I normally shoot, when I'm dealing with like my black background, I'm normally shooting at 160. I like to shoot at 100 if I can. So I realized that at some point that I had to bump up my ISO because it's just way too dark. Especially when I started adding extension tubes, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Oh, it's so crazy. It would be super cool to like get something like this printed up really large. It's like if you look at it from further away, it's just gonna look like yarn, but then you can like get closer, and you can just see all the little detail. I think that'd be really fun. So let's find some of the closer photos. Oh, this is really cool. I like this one a lot. So I started getting really close. Like, okay, we'll bump it up to ISO 400. That clearly wasn't enough. I'm gonna bump this up so we can actually look at it. So I started adding extension tubes, which can allow me to get even closer. And see, the depth of field's really shallow. You can start to see a little bit of scales here and there, but not too much. I don't really care for that photo. It's not as sharp. So don't like that one. Here we go. Yeah, so I'm really interested to see how the fabric looks. So I've got the photos on the loom, and then I want to get the photos of the cloth off the loom because that that gives it a little bit of change as well. And then I want to take the same kind of shots after being fold to see how they look differently. It's just crazy. Starbuck Fiber says it reminds her of fiber optic cables. It does. It kind of reminds me of 3D printing filament. Alright, here we go. So I ended up bumping up to 640 ISO. And this is definitely a lot better. Now, it's not the sharpest, probably due to the shutter speed, I'm guessing. I might have to get a few shots with a tripod instead before I take it off the loom. But yeah, Veggie Zombie says it reminds me of DNA structure. Oh, that's really cool. Now, as far as editing these go, so usually my typical editing in Photoshop, I'm editing out dust spots, random stray hairs, little things like that. This would be impossible to do that kind of editing because, you know, it's just random stray hair everywhere because it's just so close. So like removing this thing here, I wouldn't even attempt. Hook and Shuttle says, who knew wool was translucent? Yeah. It's interesting how some of the, the color fiber, it's still very translucent, but then you get the black, the actual black, it's really crisp and black. Yeah, it's just super cool. So I was using they call them the mica extension tubes, and from what did some research to figure out my, where did I put that paper? Oh, here it is. So the macro lens that I'm using, when I'm at, the closest I can get with my pictures, the magnification is 1.4 times. With the extension tubes that I'm using, I'm actually able to get 1.71 times magnification, which is, as you can see, super darn close. I think I honestly probably couldn't get any closer if I tried. Have to get a microscope to shoot pictures with, which could be really cool. So from here on out, I was just kind of playing with composition of the structure. This is, just straight on, so everything's in alignment. And then I did some different at angles and things to just enjoy the composition. And even just like the solid blue it's really pretty. It's like a party with all the different colors in it. Now, one thing I will do in Photoshop is, if we put a grid up, you can kind of see that my photo is kind of at an angle, so I'll probably go ahead and tweak that so that it's more parallel. Not tweaking the weaving itself, but just rotating the image so that I get a nice parallel line. Nice straight line. And then I decided to get to, you know, the section where the woven structure meets the warp. So this part hasn't been woven in at all, and you can see a little bit of the twist angle here. Jay, I'm glad you're here, because my weaving terminology isn't the greatest. I just weave stuff. Yeah, the fell line is really pretty. I think I'll bump the exposure just a little bit. It is so loosely spun. Just looking at that angle. If there's anything you guys want to see that like I haven't clicked on, or you want to see something closer, just let me know. Now this one could actually be a little bit darker. There we go. This one's neat. So the weaving's at an angle. So the weaving's actually going, you know, this is towards the front, the back of the loom. This is towards the front. Have I tried one in black and white? You know, I haven't, and I haven't actually played with the black and white feature on here. But we can. Okay. There's black and white. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I haven't played with this at all. That's split tone. Color sensitivity. Interesting. So I can adjust all the different colors here to work on my black and white contrast. That is something I haven't played with. I have done split tones before, but not on Capture One. So Capture One's a relatively new program for me. I got it because Photoshop cannot edit the raw files of the Canon EOS R5 properly. When you load it into Photoshop directly, it eats the color. It looks terrible. Oh, that's really nice. It's so different with the angle like this. It's like braiding almost. exposure just a touch. And darken it up. I thought this might be interesting, but it's not really. Excuse me. Oh, Jay, there was something I was going to show you. So I was looking at, is it this one? So I ran out of yarn because, silly me, I decided to add 2 extra inches on either side in comparison to the draft, thinking, oh, I'll have enough. Yeah, I didn't. And Hook and Shuttle had to send me more yarn. I did fail to remember that dye lots. I wasn't sure if that was going to affect it, but actually I did notice a slight change in the yarn, but it was only in, I think this is the sagebrush. The new yarn had just a touch more yellow in it. And you can kind of see here, there's just a little bit more yellow in the weft versus the warp. And I thought visually that was pretty neat. Yeah, they were all over at the same time. Yeah, I mean, it's super minor. Like, I wouldn't even consider it a dye lot issue. It's just, you know, that there was just a little bit more yellow. And it's super subtle. And you don't really see it a whole lot unless you look at it up close. But in the macro shot, you can definitely see, you know, there's just a few more strands of yellow in the weft here than in the warp, which was really neat. I just thought it was cool. So Jay, how much extra yarn did you have to buy for the new kits? Yeah, technically it's a new carding lot. Yep. But you knew what I meant. You bought an additional 30 pounds? Oh my goodness. Dang. So how much did you get, like, to start with for the weave along itself? I'm just super curious. Okay, so it's not, you know, not a ton, but still. Dang, 60 pounds. That's a lot. Okay. This one's a little washed out, so I'm going to do the same thing where I'm just going to darken it up a little bit. Hook and Shuttle says my weaving alone is about 160 pounds per year. That's, well, I mean, you make some very large pieces that are absolutely insanely incredible. And you are, yeah, very prolific. Alright. Okay, so we're just gonna go through the 5-star photos and pick a few to load into Photoshop. So I'm going to go ahead and export these ones out. I'll export the other ones later, but I've only got like 15 minutes left, so we're just going to do a few here. And of course it doesn't show. Where's my export screen? Hold on 1 second. There we go. Alright, so I export as Jpeg at the full size, highest quality. And the nice thing about Capture One is that when I export, it will automatically open these up into Photoshop. And we will load Photoshop. Alright, so normally in Photoshop, the main things I do are I edit out dust, stray hairs, lint, little tiny things like that. I don't really change anything about my pictures. I try to keep them as true as possible. I do an auto contrast. So we'll go through an auto contrast. Now, of course, the OBS software doesn't capture menus, so you'll just have to take my word for it that I'm using auto contrast. And it will brighten them up a little bit. Okay. And I'll usually look at my photos at like 50 to 100%, kind of look for things that I might need to edit out. But like I said, editing out anything when we're dealing with strands like this that's super busy, it's going to be impossible. So we're just going to admire the crazy plastic looking wool instead. Actually, let's look at what on earth is this. Okay, so this I don't like, and we're going to try to fix it. I don't know if I can fix it though. So I'm going to try the heal tool, and we're just going to see what it do. And it's not terrible. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's better than, so there it is, and it's gone. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better than what it was, and when you're looking at it as a whole, you're not gonna really see it. So yeah, that worked. Gosh, that was so neat. So after I finish doing all my little edits for these photos, I go through and I just go ahead and save. And I save it at the highest setting for JPEG, so I'm saving over the original files that I exported out, not the original files. So my original files are raw files, and the ones that exported it out were JPEGs. Now, these files are massive. They're about, I think, 30 to 40 megabytes a piece. So I go ahead and size them down for sharing on social media. I size them down to 1600 pixels on the longest side. So I have some actions I use in order to size the image down. I add a little bit of sharpness, because when you size things down, they do lose a little sharpness. And that's all this action does. So that is the full size. And this is exactly why I wanted to do this stream, because I can show these pictures on social media, and yeah, you can see that there's a lot of detail there, but you can't see the full resolution. Like, you can't really take it all in without actually zooming in and then losing sense of the whole picture. So it's a lot easier to show that through the stream. And then I saved these. I save these to web, and these go into a special folder that's completely different for just social media photos, so that way I've got everything separated so I don't oversave anything. So these go into my social media folder. So Hook and Shuttle says our next weave along will be Coddlin, and he cannot wait to see the macro shots of that. I'm really excited about that. So Snoring Cat Fibers is going to lurk while she gets ready for her stream, and when I end, I'm going to go ahead and use the raid feature, so it will send you all to hers. She's been spinning some Rambouillet on her Nano. It's a really pretty Rambouillet. Alright, so these are all ready for posting. I will probably do a few where I'll just crop the picture. I'll take a small portion of the image. Oops, that's not the right tool. Take a small portion of the image and size it for posting on social media so people can see the detail, but it's a lot harder to appreciate in a smaller scale. Alrighty. So that's all I have for tonight. I hope you all enjoyed. Are there any last minute questions about the project or the photos? Just let me know. If not, I will wrap up. Yeah, I won't wrap up until I know that Snoring Cats is live. Hook and Shuttle, I'm so glad you mentioned that you wanted to see some close-up photos. I know these are probably way closer than you anticipated. Glad you enjoyed Storybook Fibers. So some of the photos I'm actually adding this text, the Outlander weave along to. I want to make some prints of this. I think it'd be really cool. Aw, thanks, Tuna. I'm glad you could join. All right, well, let's go hunt for some more photos, and we'll just look at some more photos. All right, so I'll turn capture one back on. And let's see. What else do I have? So, oh, Veggie says, yeah, this was really cool. I can't wait to see more streams and over your live. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out when the best time is to stream because I don't want to step on any toes. I thought it was nice to do it a little bit before storing Cat because that way I could do the raid feature. Jerry says frogs. Okay, so here we go. I just got this beautiful spindle by Jerry, who's in the chat. Let's see here. I'm going to reduce the highlight just a little bit. This is Massar Birch. It's so cute. These toes. Jerry, I don't know how you make these little toes with your scroll saw, but whatever you're doing is magic. Yes, Tuna Basil. That's with the scroll saw. It's Massar Birch. So here's the front. I'm going to reduce the highlight a little bit. So like with these photos, you can definitely see the black attracts dust, so I will have to edit these little things out here, here and here. Oh, Hook and Shuttle has a mighty need. Tuna Basil says, I've spent many, many hours at the scroll saw. That's very impressive. I know, right? So Jerry is the original person to add scroll saw artwork to Turkish bundles, and she's got so many amazing patterns. So let's take a peek at the other ones. So I have my whole flock, and I was trying to figure out which one's the best photo. I think let's look at this one. So got a little bit of overexposure in the Massar. Yeah, so we were looking at Massar Birch, and it's actually a genetic thing. It's not spalting, which is weird. Yeah. When Jerry told me that she had a sea turtle Turkish spindle, I'm like, yeah, I need that one, because turtles. Turtle and a turtle. Veggie Zombie says, or mountains, or polar bears, or. What kind of wood is the snake spindle? It is, I believe it's maple burl, and it was a very grumpy wood. But it really fits the snakes. So I'm spinning this braid. It's Summer's Day by Huckleberry Knits, and I'm spinning in the order of the size of the animal. So I start with the sea turtles, then I'm going to go with the snakes, the frogs, the geckos, then the spiders, and then to the cute little ladybugs. So I need to start spinning on the snake next. I do have, let's see. Yeah, so with my Jenkins, I usually determine order by the weight of the spindle. And it's really easy for me to tell because Wanda writes the weights on them. And, you know, they're the sizes, you know, they're really easy to tell. But since these are all around the same weight, I just decided to go by the size of the animal to make it easy. I've been working on this. This is my magpie. I'm spinning some Polworth silk. It's called Green Gallery, and it's by Three Waters Farm. So I need to work on these photos. The detail I'm getting on this camera is above and beyond the last camera I have, so it's been really interesting to actually see the consistency. This is probably 60 grams per inch. Yeah, the green, it's so pretty. You know, I can't help myself with green. I do want to take some macro shots of that. And I think I've got a I might have more photos that I haven't loaded yet. Here we go. I like this one. That consistency though, yeah. So I'm gonna chain ply this. It'll probably be a light fingering weight. Believe it or not, this bobbin is only, I'd say, about 60% full. And I'm gonna be able to squish this braid, another braid, and one more braid after that. I'm shooting for 28 ounces. And already it's getting really heavy. Like I have to like cradle it like a baby when I go to move the wheel. It's a big chonkin' wheel with a big chonkin' bobbin. Yeah, so I have 4 braids on it right now completely, plus part of this green braid. So I'm shooting for 4, 5, 6, 7 braids. Let's see. No, not all the same colorway. So, I have 4 Tour de Fleece colorways from 2020 on here. There was Chunky Bobbins or Bust. I had 4 sock spin braids that were Tour de Fleece 2020. I did 2 last year, 2 this year, and I've got these 2 braids, which are the Tour de Fleece for this year. Last year's was, I had 2 rainbow braids, a magenta braid that's like a semi-solid and a semi-solid green that's a different sort of green than this bobbin. I've got this one, and let me check. Maybe that's 1300. Oh, 1200. Here we go. So that was the braid on it before the green, and then I've got these two. So what do I plan on using it for? So I've got 4 braids of sock, which will all be chain plied individually. And then these 2 braids here, I'm going to chain ply, and they'll likely be for a shawl, and it's going to have stripes, so I'll have the rainbow, and it'll alternate with the green. And then the last braid is going to be a BFL that I'm getting from Long Draw James, and I don't know what it's going to be for. Might be a shawl, maybe. We'll see. I didn't get a chance to finish editing. I'll be posting this soon, along with this. I love the fact that I've matched my spindles with my spinning. It'll be interesting to see how they load up. This one's going to hopefully end somewhere in here in this green. And then when I start on this one, it'll end in the blue. This one will end here in the green. Oh, the squirrel cage. So, yeah, the squirrel cage is pretty cool. Right now, the main issue with the Acreworks squirrel cage, which I've got photos of here. The one thing we're trying to figure out with the squirrel cage is that it needs glass to attach to, and that's not something that's readily available for everybody. So we're trying to figure out some other things that we can do besides the Assemblecates, and we've got some good ideas so far, and the actual usage of it has been really nice. Yeah, it's quite limiting, but the actual usage of the squirrel cage is pretty nice. Especially with this piece here. I don't think he's got a name for it, but it helps tame the skein so it doesn't go everywhere. Is Snoring Cat not live yet? Oh, good. Alrighty, so I am gonna call it for the night. Snoring Cat is live, so I should be able to start the raid. Why is it not letting me? Snoring. Have a good night. But hang in there, and 1 second. Well, I would start the raid if it would let me. Let me refresh the screen. There it is. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and conclude, and I hope that everybody has a good night. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all later.